Hi, I'm Don.
Hi, I'm Scott.
This is a show about queer people,
By queer people
for queer people,
and our allies.
and this is Queer View Mirror coming at ya.
Today we are in a beautiful, inspirational place, and we're about to talk to a beautiful, inspirational woman. Jennifer de Groot, a local artist here in Parksville, is here to talk about her upcoming show at Gallery Merrick in Victoria, starting June 10th. She's got some pieces down there right now, and I think they're going to carry her for quite a bit, so please go down and check it out. Jen's a figurative painter and self-taught and just an amazing, amazing artist.
Well, I've seen her work and I'm really impressed, to say the least.
She features queer models and she's a queer artist. And as we always say on the show, representation matters. So join us.
Absolutely. Stay right there.
Hi, welcome to Queer View Mirror, a show about queer people, by queer people, for queer people, and our allies. I am Dawn.
And I'm Scott.
Scott, where are we today?
Well, today we are on the traditional territories of the Coast Salish people, and we're grateful to the Snanawas and Qualicum First Nations. And we're coming to you from beautiful downtown Coombs.
Yes, we can't mention where we are, but with us is a very special person, and I will let Scott do the introduction.
Well, last month we were introduced to her work, and this month we're talking to Jen de Groot, our featured artist, fellow queerdo, and she's got a show upcoming at the Gallery Merrick in Victoria, and she's going to tell us all about it today.
I am, yeah. These are a few of my pieces that will be featured in the show. The show is opening June 10th. And I'm just so excited. It's my first ever solo show, and yeah.
Wonderful. So how did you get started with art? Like, what was your inspiration?
It's always been a part of my life, particularly figurative art, which is featuring people. It's always been a big part of my life. It's just, it's what I love to do. It's my happy place. It's my bliss. I've always been drawing or painting people since I was a kid, and this particular style came from Joe's direction. He kind of pushed me in this direction. Really grateful.
So did you try out for one of his, when he does his calls and asks for submissions?
You know, I actually got to avoid that whole process. I met Joe at the Nanaimo Art Walk when Gallery Merrick was still in Nanaimo. And I just thought, what a cool space. It's just different. It's really contemporary. It's really just new and fresh and interesting to me. I know, like, just different.
And this was just about a few years ago or just a year ago?
That was, it would have been 2 years ago now, yeah, that I met him. It was actually, it was so funny because the art walk happened at the beginning of December, I think. And he was moving within a few weeks of that into the new space in Victoria.
Yeah.
So I contacted him after the art walk and I said, you know, I'm interested in submitting. I can't find the forms on your website. And he's like, oh, you know, just follow us on Instagram. It'll come up and we'll be announcing a submission process soon. And then he emailed me back and said, actually, I looked you up online. You should just come in and we'll talk about representation. I guess he'd been looking for an artist to paint nudes for quite a while, and I fit with his vision for the gallery. So I got to kind of skip all the submission process and all the waiting. You know, it's kind of you submit to a gallery and then you don't hear back if you don't get in. It's sort of just a big question mark until you get in or not.
Well, lucky for you, you sort of like got a shoe in at the right time.
Right before they moved. It's so funny. And then I got a place at the new gallery, so I got to be a part of the grand opening, which was just so amazing. Getting to meet the other artists on the roster, it was just sort of a rare opportunity because there are artists from all over Canada, and there were quite a few of them were present for the opening. It was great.
So as I noticed, the little that I know about art, unlike Scott, who went to Emily Carr or whatever,
Or whatever.
I'm sort of like an outsider looking in. So most artists like have a certain style or a certain focus. Like an artist focuses on abstract, and an artist focuses on lilies and landscapes, and you are body painting or figure painting. So what led you to that particular focus?
I think that people have always fascinated me. I'm really interested in psychology. I just love being able to capture a moment of humanity. And in this series in particular, it's a lot about vulnerability and just an erotic sort of sense of excitement. Like a lot of them are close cropped and they give you the feeling of being able to see like voyeuristic, like a little bit like through the peephole, like you're witnessing an intimate moment, or maybe the viewer is able, and I hope the viewer is able to put themselves in that sort of space and to see themselves in the work. So yeah, that's sort of the basic thought behind the body of work.
You and I had a conversation not too long ago about representation and queer representation in art. And as a queer artist, do you feel that, you know, it's important to represent the queer community and queer models?
Absolutely, absolutely it is. I feel like everyone has the right to see themselves in art, in literature, in the world. Like there's just there's so many different people and so many different there's just so much to represent, and I feel like it's just so important. And for me, as a person who identifies as queer, it's just, I feel like it was awkward for me to get into it initially because it feels so close to me and it feels like nobody else's business. But I think it's an important story to tell, and it's my responsibility to tell it.
I feel like with your art, I mean, my first feeling when I looked at it was a celebration. It was celebratory, and I love how you celebrate all different, you know, ethnicities and body types and just all walks of life, really. Was that your intention going in?
You know, it's absolutely been a piece of it, and I wanted there to be a lot of different people represented. Absolutely, I didn't want it to be, you know, you walk into the gallery and it's just a wash of white people. That's just not what I want. Though it's not. It doesn't feel right to me for it to just.
Well, that's not our world at large,
It
is
is
it?
not.
Yes.
It is not. No. So it's important for me to be able to go out of my way to incorporate all types of people.
That's great. Now, with your upcoming show, you know, what were you looking for in your models? Like, what was it you were trying to? What's your statement?
What was I looking for in my models? I think that I was looking to. I wanted all different kinds of body types, and I wanted different faces. I wanted to have as many models as I could truly get my hands on before the show within the time constraints. So I was looking for people who could represent a wider range of bodies, of who could represent a wider range of bodies, of, you know, of sexual orientation, of, yeah, that was my thought on the models. As far as the statement goes, I think it's meant to sort of be a holding space for the viewer to interpret it how they want emotionally. Like, how does it make you feel? Can you relate to it? Does it transport you to a moment? Does it make you feel like you're looking through the peephole? Does it make you uncomfortable? Art is supposed to create feeling, and it doesn't always have to be good. Like, I've seen pieces that I've hated, and I remember them 10 years later. So people don't have to love it. It's just an interesting thought to make it memorable.
I'm trying to recall what Joe said about the two elements that he looks for when he looks at artists and considering some paintings. Like he's mentioned the
Magic
technique
and
the
technique.
magic. Yeah. So in your case, what is the combination of the magic and the technique?
The magic and the technique, it's funny, I've talked to a lot of artists over the last couple of years about technique, and I didn't realize that a lot of artists don't work in the way that I do. Like, they don't find bliss and like hyper fixate and sort of check out of reality and get to a meditative space when they're working, and that's what I do. Like, that's, I think, where the magic and the technique happens, is that and my studio space is very small, so even like these larger pieces, I'm about this far from the canvas, and then I can step back and see it as a whole. It's magical to me.
So that's the magic.
That's the magic. And the technique.
So does the technique sort of like evolve out of the magic as part of the process?
Does it evolve? I think that it becomes transformative for me. Nothing makes me feel as good as completing a piece and making someone that I know or a new friend or my partner feel beautiful. Like, they can look at it and think, wow, I'm so glad that I did that. I'm so glad that I've been a part of it. That would be really great. I'm hoping that, a lot of these models haven't seen these pieces yet, so they're going to be new at the opening and new for this show. So this is a reveal.
It'll be fresh in their eyes.
Yeah, it will. Yeah. So I'm excited to hear what they think of it. And for me, it's just like truly a selfish thing that I do. Creating art feels just so good. It brings so much to my life that it's like, it's not a job. I'm so lucky. I just feel so lucky to have the time and space and the representation to be able to do this and to bring this work to the world.
So would it be safe to say that your art is more of a path rather than a career?
Oh yeah, it doesn't feel like a job. It doesn't feel like a job. Like, I could do this all day, every day, and I have no ability to, there's no work-life balance for me, especially now leading up to this show. It's just like, I'm up until, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning working on it, and then up with my toddler at 7 a.m. Which
I'm sure also it provides some kind of inspiration for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But it doesn't feel like work. No, it's a dream come true. This is
that's
like
wonderful.
Joe made my dream come true. My childhood dream, my life dream. It's a big goal.
No, I know, and Dom referenced my schooling, and a lot of those people I went to school with, that's what their dream was, right? To be a professional working artist.
Yeah.
So, congrats on that one, because you're
Thank
doing
you.
it.
Thank you. I feel so lucky. And because I'm not an educated artist, I always felt like I didn't have the same opportunities, I guess, as other artists did, because they'd had the education. They could put it on the application form, or they could meet people while they're going through schooling. And I don't know if that was true for you, but I felt like I missed out on it in my youth. And
Well,
I went
speaking
back
to people who have been educated in the arts, I would like to pose this question to the both of you. What is more important, is art a talent or a skill?
Yes.
Or is it both?
yes.
Oh, I think it's definitely both. I think, it's the vision, I think, is, the gift, so to speak, right? I've looked at some artist work, and even with my training and my education, I'd be like, I never saw it that way. Or, you know, like some people just have this natural gift to be able to see things in a beautiful way that maybe other people didn't. What are your thoughts?
I think that if I could be a little less eloquent about it, I always thought that being really good at art requires a huge level of delusion. Like you have to be able to
I like what you
you have to be able to tell yourself this is
So there's a
going
use for
really
drugs
well
then.
when it's going horribly and fight through it. Like these pieces do not look like this from the beginning. They look horrible for long periods of time, and I have to be able to be delusional enough to fight through that and think it's gonna be fine. Like this is gonna work out. It's gonna look really
So I
beautiful.
guess you say delusional and brave.
yeah. Yeah. Like an inflated sense of self-confidence. Like this is gonna be perfect. So
Don't
it's so
all artists have that?
To quote one of my
I don't know
favorite
if they
shows
do.
on TV right now, I'm definitely still in my delusion era.
I am too. I don't know if I'm ever gonna get out of it. It's like a lifelong thing for me.
Well, like you said, it's bliss. So
It
who wants to
is
get out of
bliss.
it?
You know, it's funny, and this artist that I really respect, who's a beautiful photorealistic portrait artist, she told me that it's so stressful for her. Working is very stressful and anxiety inducing because she wants it to be perfect
Oh.
and feels like maybe I forgot how to do it from the last painting. I'm like, girl, I am not that.
Maybe that's a different type of delusion.
Maybe.
The negative type of
Yeah, you're letting your inner saboteur get the better of you, I
Mm-hmm.
think. But, and I mean, we all do. We all have that little voice in our heads that tells us that we're not doing enough or doing good enough. But, and skill, I think, is something that you just learn. I mean, as for me, it was just like,
It's something that you pick up in the process?
I'm very stubborn, and I had to teach myself how to do it well on my own and get all the books and watch all the videos. And it's possible. It is possible entirely to become a professional artist based on delusion and stubbornness. You can get there.
Well, I think another word for stubbornness is
Tenacity.
yeah. Another word for that would be passion.
Passion.
It translates into your work.
Passion, and it's I think that I'm diminishing it definitely by framing it as stubbornness, but it is my passion, and it's always been since I was a kid. It's always what I remember in kindergarten. They asked all the kids, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I wrote a little, I did a little thing about being an artist, and I was convinced that they were going to pick me, and I was going to get to meet an artist. That was what I was absolutely convinced that I was going to get to meet an artist because I was the best. And I was so excited, and in my mind, she looked like Miss Frizzle. It was going to happen. And then it was like they picked two boys, and one wanted to be a cop, and one wanted to be a firefighter. Yeah. Like,
Oh,
but
it was that time.
Yeah. In the 90s. But I get to be that person. I get to be that person now. I'm that artist. I go to my son's school, and I get to
You
volunteer
get to
my
be
time,
you.
and I get to hold
beautiful
space.
you. Yeah.
Thank you. I get to meet kids, and I can show them it's possible. It's possible. If I can do it, you can do it, and I can support you. And I love going into the school and helping kids. You know, one year my son was in grade 2, and I was teaching them. We all did our portraits, and it's just so fun. It's so fun.
Okay.
So you were, Dawn interrupted you there. You were talking about holding space. I just wanted you to finish that thought because I think I know where you were going.
Where was I going?
You were talking about the kids and holding space for them.
Well, holding space for kids, yeah. I think that I like to think of myself as a safe parent. So I want to be the mom that's available to all of my son's friends, or I want the kids to know that I'm safe for them. Like if they're maybe not safe in their environment, or they're like, I like being that house that's full of boys playing video games really loudly right after school. Like come over and eat all the snacks in my house. I really like that. And
Okay.
I like to
For those of you who are watching.
come and play video games in my house. But I want to be the person that I needed as a kid. that I would have, a person who
Oh,
I would have wanted
that's a good
to be
thought.
around. I want to be that artist that I was hoping to meet in kindergarten.
But you don't look like anything like Miss Frizzle. Right.
See my natural hair that isn't straightened. You might think I do.
Well, something I'm curious about is you mentioned a while ago that Joe has been a integral part of your development as an artist. Could you share a little bit about that?
Joe is so encouraging and so loving, and he also specializes in arts mentorship. So if something that I'm doing isn't going in the right direction, it's so valuable to have an educated critique.
Okay.
Because and you also critique me, please. If I'm ever going in a direction that is, please tell me lovingly, like, I don't know, like, why don't we try something a little bit different? I love a good critique, and he's so good at doing that so diplomatically, so as not to, injure me. But I can take it. I can take a harsh critique, and he's definitely directed me towards pieces that are working for the gallery, that might not be for the gallery, but could be for like a different art show, like it'd be good for this or that, and he's a friend. He's my dear personal friend also. So yeah, having that relationship has been really valuable for me, for sure.
Okay.
And we just touched on mentoring in two different ways, right? You appreciating your mentor, and also how you like to mentor, right? And
Yeah.
how important do you think it is for everybody in general to have mentors out there, especially in our community with each other?
Immensely. It's immensely important. And it can feel I feel like it can feel really overwhelming to try to find someone like that, especially as a young person, especially as like a young queer person. If you're maybe growing up in an environment where that's maybe not okay or not safe for you to express, that can feel huge. But I feel like and that's something that I would like to hold space for as well. If there's, young people who are feeling like that, I'm an open door. I'm so nice. I know people always read me on my resting bitch face, but I'm so nice.
Yeah, those video games. What do you have, a PS3 or an Xbox?
PS3.
Okay. I don't
It's a
play video
Sony
games.
family, Dawn.
My son is always telling me, Mom, your face, like, it's just intimidating. And like, I know, but that's just how I look. Like, I just look like that. I can't help it.
Have you tried as like a self-portrait?
Yeah, I do quite a few self-portraits, but I don't look as bitchy in the paintings.
Well, you're the artist.
Can't look too intimidating when you're naked. I feel like it's a little.
That's a little vulnerable.
Naked, it could be just your face.
How much clothing do you see around us here, Dawn?
Well, speaking of this, now can we talk about the pieces that we see in the background here? And Scott will pretend to critique. So let's start with the couple. Tell us about the process, the story behind this.
The inspiration, if you will.
The inspiration. So I had wanted to paint a male queer couple for a long time. And I'd been looking for models and trying to get in contact with people, and it was actually Joe. Joe knows them and had brought me up to them, like, oh, she's looking for models. And I met them on the day that I went to go photograph them for this piece, and they're actually featured in another piece. I could do a whole body of work with them. The photos that I got, just so beautiful. They were so open.
So is that the process? You meet them, you take a picture, then you make a painting out of the picture?
So typically what I like to do is go into people's space. So I'll go and photograph them in their home and just use the light that's available. So it creates a really interesting dynamic that is unpredictable and really fun for me to be able to work through, like, even the photo editing process and what that looks like with different lighting situations. And their home was so beautifully lit. So I got so many dynamic photos of them, and it was just really easy and fun. And we had coffee and visited, and it was great.
So how long did this take to finish?
To finish this,
Yeah.
I'm really fast. I think it took like 3 days.
Okay. Still 2 days. Not
Yeah,
many
well,
days,
you know,
right?
it's all the prep time and stuff too, but yeah, I'm pretty quick.
When we were talking with Joe last episode, he mentioned that you used 4 tubes of paint. Is this one of your 4 tubes of paint pictures?
So this one is, I think it's black. I use white, cadmium red, yellow ochre, and one more brown. I think it's a burnt sienna or a burnt ember. So I've got five different colors, and that's it.
Amazing.
And I know a lot of artists, that's like one of the art school rules. I don't know, you correct me if I'm wrong. Do not use one paintbrush. Don't use like vary your tools, right? But that's absolutely not what I do. I use one paintbrush and just very limited palette. It makes it really interesting to me to be able to pull out super saturated skin tones with just a very small amount of colors.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Yeah, I love the
amazing.
colors in this one. They're so, you know, like you said, skin tone.
But just a few colors make
Yeah.
it happen.
Okay.
Excellent.
Moving on to the next.
Yes, and this lovely gentleman.
This is not a couple. This is a one person.
One person. Yeah, I've done a couple sort of split nudes like this one in the past. They're really fun to work out. It's really, while I'm sketching it out, it's just like piecing the two bodies together is really fun for me.
You have one piece I saw in a gallery called Hydra.
With the 5 heads.
Yeah, and I just love that. But yeah, it's
thank
just
you.
so dynamic. You can tell it's one person, but it's such a dynamic image. And you know, you talk about getting that visceral reaction. And my first reaction when I looked at that one was, wow. And this one,
great.
I kind of get the same thing. It's dynamic, but in a different kind of way.
Yeah, it's sort of in an effort to bring out a little bit of forced movement and an otherwise static image. Like a painting is clearly, it's not going to move, but it gives you the impression of
Yes.
movement.
That's the impression I got. Like he's shifting, moving, having a hard time to sleep. Something like that.
And tell us about this model. Like, what, you know, what was the inspiration? What did you see in his space?
Well, he's a fan of my work and had given me such an incredible compliment at the grand opening of Gallery Merrick in Victoria. He had said that my work made him think about himself and how he felt, and other artists made him think about what the artist was envisioning for the piece instead of putting himself in that piece and seeing himself in it. But he said that in my work he could see himself in the pieces. It's just such an insightful, like, wonderful thing to say, and got him to sit for me. And it was a great photo shoot again in their space, and I got photos of him and his partner, and so I've got one that's in process still of him and his partner that's not quite done yet, but yeah, he was great. It's just so beautiful too. So gorgeous.
Wonderful.
And the textures on his body were so fun to pull out in the editing process. Yeah, it was great.
You know, and I noticed with your paintings too, there's almost geometric shapes. And, you know, and yet you still manage to like do these beautiful human bodies, which aren't very geometric. So, you know, was that, how did you kind of come up with that technique?
So that technique was sort of, it came out of truly favoring a flat brush initially. That's how it sort of began as sort of like more of a pixelated look. And over time it became like geometric brush strokes, which I just think look so beautiful.
They do.
And it's a little bit of a, not unique approach to figurative work, but
I was so excited when he walked into the bedroom with bags from Gibson's fine linens. I knew then that I was in for a night of great comfort and outstanding quality. I've never seen such great value. I'm looking so stylish now, and there's still so many options to choose from.
a little bit of a, not unique approach to figurative work, but something that I
Well, I
just,
haven't seen it in others.
no.
You know,
Oh, I'm glad.
speaking about unique, I haven't seen the geometric patterns.
Yeah, something a little
Right.
bit different. It can still give an organic feel. Like they don't feel like robots or like a pixelated photo, but yeah, it gives you the impression. It's more of an impression of human. Like people aren't really like this color necessarily, but yeah.
No, but like you said, it does evoke some kind of feeling or some kind of visceral reaction.
Oh, good. I'm
All
glad.
right, so let's move on to the next piece. So these are women now. Okay, so what's the story here?
So those models, they're actually the only two models that I hired and who I don't know personally. I just loved this pose so much, and I wanted to be able to represent a female couple, though they are not queer. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a lesbian couple to model for me before sort of the
You should have
deadline was.
spoken to Scott. He's the booking person for those kind of things.
I know people.
Well,
But
we
yeah,
should talk
So
later.
did it follow the same process? You went to their space, took photos of them?
Yeah, same process. It was one of them. It was one of their apartments, and yeah, just got the photo set, and the photo set wasn't as good as this one. I could use any single photo from that, and it's no fault of theirs. It's just
The lighting,
the
and
lighting,
the space.
and, yeah, and I was not paying attention as much to my camera settings. So it
Real
was-
little
it was-
distracted, were you? And I noticed, like with the women too, I get a floral, like a flower background. Was that the intention with that?
Yeah, they're roses actually from my garden.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
And but we've got the men over here, and it's stark, like it's a very stark background, and I love that. But here we've got like all the space being taken up. Was there a different kind of journey you were on with this one?
Yeah, actually, I was doing a lot of research into flower meanings at the time and queer flowers. I was going to do a whole bunch of them with the flower backgrounds, but it ended up not really working out that way. I didn't love how the other flowers looked, but it was interesting looking into like the secret Victorian age meanings of flowers and floral
I bet.
arrangements.
Ooh.
Like
I'm gonna look into that too.
the obvious
later.
like pansies and lavender also is another one, and there's so many that I thought.
So
was
in your
interesting.
research, what came out as the queerest flower?
The queerest
All
flower.
flowers are queer.
The rainbow dyed rose, I guess, would be probably one of the queerest flowers. And the pansy, I think the pansy was one of
The
the
name itself.
Yeah.
yeah.
Sounds queer
Well,
already.
which came first? The pansies or the pansies?
I think in the Victorian age, queer men would wear a pansy in their lapel to identify each
Oh,
other.
queer man.
So throughout history, we've always had our ways to tell, right?
Secret language. So interesting.
Yeah, there was the pansy, the handkerchiefs.
Yeah, the
different
handkerchiefs
colors of
were a big one.
handkerchiefs.
Yeah,
I do some research on that. So
yeah, absolutely.
I haven't
And-
I haven't found out what blue meant yet, or does it mean anything?
It doesn't.
No.
It doesn't. Blue doesn't occur in nature, really, except in the occasional flower, the sky, and the ocean, like the
Yeah.
big things. But you don't see a lot of blue animals or blue foods, or
Yeah. And
even blueberries are purple.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
it's a shade of blue.
Yeah. And then finally we have.
That's my partner. And yeah, again, one of the first close cropped pieces that I did for this body of work. Alex is an actor and very good at modeling. He'll just do anything, and his body movements are so fluid, and I get so many beautiful photos of him. Again, it's hard to choose just one. But it's fun to make it really suggestive and zoom in really tight. Like, who knows what he's doing? What's happening for him that he's in that position?
Contemplating a Rubik's Cube.
I
That would be
feel
my
like
guess.
that's absolutely what it is.
Yeah, definitely.
Calculus.
Well, I'm getting something else, but
Calculus.
That's it for sure.
Calculus?
It's a math.
Yeah, I know, but I was just thinking.
I'm not sure you
abacus.
do.
I'm older, so I'm thinking abacus over a calculus. Before we come to a close, there's something important I want to bring up. It's like you mentioned the importance of being mentored and being guided. So, what message would you like to share for aspiring artists such as yourself? But you were there at one point, but now you've kind of arrived. So, what would you say to aspiring artists or emerging artists?
I would say just keep trying. I think that rejection sensitivity is something you have to really let go of if you want to be able to do well in the arts. It has to be, you have to steel yourself and know that what you're doing, your voice, your story is valuable. And it's important to tell that story.
Mm-hmm.
So just keep trying. Don't let, not getting into that gallery or not being represented at all. Just keep going. The internet is a great way to sell work or have it seen by people. I think maybe having a realistic view of what success looks like as an artist is really important, and do things that make you happy and don't allow anybody to tell you that it's wrong. I had so many people tell me that who's going to want to hang a painting of someone that they don't know in their home? A lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of people. Figurative art has been around since the dawn of man. We've been drawing little men on cave walls. It's been around. But
No, absolutely. I mean, look at the ancient Greek art and the ancient Etruscan and the ancient Roman. Like, you're right. I mean, at least tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years, we've been drawing stick people and we've been drawing other people.
Exactly.
So you're right.
absolutely. And I think that all of our individual stories are so important. It's just important to, even if it speaks to one person, if I'm able to speak to one person by telling my story and showing my interpretation of other people, and I think it's your responsibility to do that.
You know, we always say on Queerview Mirror, representation matters.
Oh,
It does.
exactly.
Absolutely.
And, you know, we're so glad you're here today to represent for the creative and the artistic community. And, you know, would you join us, like, you know, later on when you're doing more shows and we can talk more art?
Yes.
Yeah, speaking of which, how many pieces do you have so far in this whole collection?
So in this collection I have 12, but I've got some time to finish. I'm hoping that I can push it to 18, but I have to really buckle down. I think I can do it. I think I can get 18.
So as you said, this is your first solo, what do you call it?
My first solo show, yeah. And I could not be more
Gallery
excited.
Merrick
At
on
Gallery
June
Merrick.
10th. So there's
Yeah.
a little plugging for the people who
Yeah.
are watching. So go ahead, invite them.
Yeah, and go to our website, go to our Facebook page. We'll have all the details up there as well.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I hope to see so many people. I want to talk to everybody, even if I'm a little awkward. Come and talk to me.
Will your models be there?
I think quite a few of them will be there.
Oh,
Yeah,
wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, we look forward to seeing them and hearing their reactions.
Oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait. And a lot of them, yeah, it'll be the first time that they've seen the pieces of themselves. So they get to walk in and be met with.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's going to be amazing.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, June 10th is a Saturday.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We'll see you there.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
And we
so
hope to
excited.
And
see
we'll
you
be there with
too.
a camera crew. And by camera crew, I mean Colton.
It's going to be great. Yeah, I hope to see so many people there.
Wonderful.
All
Well, thanks
right.
so much for joining us today. Really, it's been an absolute pleasure, and we're so excited about your work.
Thank you so much for having me.
Excellent.
What a wonderful interview. I was so glad to meet Jen. Thank you for inviting her, Scott.
Oh, I'm so glad that we got her. I'm so glad that you liked her too. I mean, you know, I
I
met
like
Jen.
her and her art.
I met Jen in the lineup at the Work the World tour in Victoria, and I just knew she was a kindred spirit and had to be on the show.
How do you know she was queer to begin with?
She told
her
me.
painting. Oh, she told you.
And it
Or
was
did her-
Work the World.
Yeah. Okay.
There were a lot of clues, Don, a lot of clues.
Well, I did enjoy this interview. I like the paintings. I like Jennifer. And, you know, just to put it in one word, she's so real.
Absolutely. And I love that she expresses herself and she gives herself permission to express herself. So if you've got an idea for an upcoming show, get a hold of us. You can reach us through our website, queerviewmirror.com.